All right. All right. What's up, everyone? This is your host, Stefany Sweet, and you are tuned into the GrownupIsh Podcast once more. And this week, drum roll. Boom, boom, right? We have Katerina with us today. Hi.
Hi, Stefany. How are you? Thank you so much for inviting me onto your show. I'm excited because
Yes.
I do a lot of lives on my platform, but I'm going to be like on YouTube where so many more people can see me. So this is going to be exciting.
Girl, don't, okay? Because I just started getting on YouTube, so maybe like 4 people. I don't know. We're growing the platform, and it's fine. So thank you. Just thank you for coming and joining me on here on the GrownupIsh Podcast. The GrownupIsh crew welcomes you. Thank you, thank you, thank you. And I really am excited to have this conversation with you because obviously from your side, I feel like you have you're devoted to this topic, and you're making it, your platform is really based off of this topic, and you're making it your agenda to promote a better mental headspace and mental health, and just starting conversations around the topic of mental health. And I think it's fantastic. I feel like it's very much needed because we have so much to deal with, right? And you are now an added outlet for people to kind of tune into and maybe have these conversations. So kudos to you.
Thank you.
Yeah. Yes. So guys, if obviously you don't already know, we're going to be talking about mental health this week. Last week I talked about self-care. And so this is almost kind of like a part 2, and talking more so about mental health and what that means to the two of us, and how we deal with it, and just good practices for us. Now, quick disclaimer, okay, just to be very, very clear, we are not professionals in any way, shape, or form in the arena of like mental health. We are not certified specialists, okay? In this conversation, the purpose is to just discuss what we have tried and found that works for us in terms of how to deal with, be it anxiety or stress or anything, just mental health overall. And our practices and some tips and tricks, and then also what we think on the matter, and what our individual experiences have been. Okay, so we are not trained physicians in any way, shape, or form. If you think that you need help, definitely seek out professional help. And we'll talk about resources as well along the convo. So that was my quick little spiel of disclaimer.
Very important. And
Right. Because let's be clear, I am not a therapist. Okay. I do like to give advice, but I am not a therapist.
Yep, exactly.
So, yeah. So let's talk about basically your platform as I introduce you to the listeners. Let's talk about your page and how you came about it.
Yeah. Oh my God. I have so much to say.
Yeah.
So thank you for introducing me. My name is Katerina. And just to give the listeners a really quick summary of who I am a 28-year-old single mom. I originally come from Lynn, Massachusetts. So I come from New England, up in the cold, but I currently live in
North. Mm-hmm.
I currently live in Florida. I've been in Florida for about 8 months. And the reason I moved to Florida was to change my life, because I didn't actually have the mental journey and the platform that I have today until I made my move. And up until this point in my life, I've dealt with a lot. And I'm just going to kind of give some highlights of the tough things that I've been through, because obviously I want to respect the audience and I
Right.
don't want to trigger anybody. So there's going to be no like gruesome details or anything like that.
Yeah.
But I mean, pretty much ever since I was born, I've never had an easy life. And I know no one has it easy.
Yeah.
I definitely don't want to come on here and pretend that maybe I'm special or I've been through things that other people haven't, because that's actually the ironic part, is that I'm not special and I've been through so much that
Right.
that's why I can relate to other people. And so up until this point in my life, some of the things I faced are a broken family. When I was really young, probably the first battle that I had that kind of shaped my mental health was my parents had a really unhealthy divorce. There was a lot of fighting, a lot of drama,
Mm,
a lot of physical things happened. So that was kind of like my first really big event in my life was my parents' divorce.
yeah.
And that happened when I was about 6 years old. I was obviously old enough to understand that something was wrong and there were problems, but not old enough to really fully understand what was going on. So that
Yeah.
kind of happened at a really important stage in my childhood. And I went through this with two older brothers and one younger brother. My two older brothers really weren't involved too much because they were in their teens and they were kind of just off doing their thing. But
Yeah.
my younger brother, he was only about a year and a half younger than me. So I kind of got put in a position to be a mom at like 6 to 7 years old. And he trusted me and he was very close to me. So he asked me a lot of questions and I had to protect him. And it was a difficult thing for somebody who's only six to have to go through. But that's kind of
100%.
sorry, what was that?
I said 100%. Sorry.
Yeah, so that's kind of where I started growing up a little too fast. And
Yeah.
then from there, the next battle that I had faced is one of our older brothers had become an addict, and that was a huge, huge part of my childhood. It definitely held me back from a lot of things. I didn't live a normal life because of it, because
Mhm.
he was not really one of those addicts that was kind of just to himself and kind of undercover and no one really knew. There was a lot of violence in my house. I've been through domestic violence. I
Mm.
lost a friend one time to immigration right when high school ended. She got deported.
Oh,
And
wow.
she was my best friend in the whole world. So I've been through, my God, just I feel like absolutely
A
every.
ton. Yeah.
Yeah, a broken home, facing domestic violence in my home, even immigration, getting my friend taken away from me, and then the normal things that people go through, like breakups and losing friends. Um, but my family life had a lot of trauma. And aside from my immediate family and the divorce and my brother becoming an addict and there being some domestic violence in my house, like I said, I grew up in Lynn, Mass. I don't know how many listeners are going to know the area that I came from, but I came from a really low income community with a lot of crime. Most of my family were involved in drugs and have been arrested and have been to jail. So it's never, ever, ever been easy. And as I got older, I had to deal with all these layers and layers of what seemed like added anxiety and added depression when, this family member would die. Or even when I was 13, I actually had a cousin who was shot and murdered in my.
Wow.
And that in itself was shocking because I'm 13 and it's like, okay, I've seen like older people die and like you kind of
But
understand.
now this is someone around your age group. This is your family. This is wow. Yeah.
Mhm. So I've had a lot of traumatic things happen. And then the final kind of big event that happened before I moved to Florida, which is kind of what made me change my life and want to, have a fresh start was, like I said, I'm a single mom. I only have one daughter, and me and her father had split up. And it was a very, very, very rough breakup. It was to the point where I kind of lost everything. I actually, up in New Hampshire and New England, where I used to live, I had a mortgage, I had a condo, and then that split caused me to kind of have to sell my home, start back at square one, go back to
Um,
my father, and I got put in a position where it's like, okay, all these crazy things have happened. I'm back at square one with my dad, not my parents because my parents are divorced, but I pretty much had to make a life decision. And so that led me to saying, you know what, up until this point, this is about a year ago when I was 27, up until this point, I'd started doing a lot of internal work. I was like, all right, well, I've had a really rough life. This is what's happened to my family. This is where I've lived. This is what I've experienced so far. And
yeah.
I made it very simple. I don't like it. I don't like what I've been through. I don't like the things my family has been through. I feel like there is life outside of all of this chaos. And even though at the time I was so depressed and I was so down and just dealing with a roller coaster of emotions, I knew I wanted better. And so that's how I ended up in Florida. And I
Yeah.
always knew I wanted to lead a platform of some sort. And actually, it's ironic that I'm on your podcast because I originally last year had an idea for a podcast of my own, which I haven't given up on, but life happens and you go in all these different directions. So when I
It's a
landed,
journey. It's a journey.
Exactly. So when I landed in Florida, I kind of was in a space where it's like, all right, I'm away from my family, I'm away from my friends. I'm in a space where I can really be me. I'm in
Yeah.
a clear environment where I can do what I want. So
Yeah.
that's kind of when I started listening to myself and I started really having the space without all the noise and all the previous chaos to understand, okay, who am I? And I played around, like I said, with the podcast idea. And I have a couple friends back home who have entrepreneurial spirits as well. So I started the mental journey with a best friend of mine who was a childhood best friend. And she's been through just as much as me, you know, the childhood trauma. She had a sibling who was an addict. Her parents had a bad divorce. So our lives really mirrored each other. And
Yeah.
she felt just as passionate. So we were like, all right, we've got to do something, but what are we going to do? And I was really more into like Instagram, and I'm more of like that kind of social media person. I wasn't too into Facebook, but she kind of came up with the idea and she was like, well, I've had a Facebook group before for different things, and
Okay.
it's got all these different options, so it's very easy to organize. And so I said, okay. So I literally, we were just having a conversation and I said, let's start the mental journey. Like we were just talking about what have we been through?
Yeah.
What dark spaces were we in when we needed help? And we thought about all these different things that nobody really has formal guidance on. And so when I started the mental journey, it's pretty much a platform centered on a mainstream approach to mental health, because the word mental health has a stigma around it, and we tend to think of diagnoses,
Yes.
but
Yes.
we don't think about like all the life battles. Like, just to give you some examples of things I've covered on my platform, like how to deal with having a positive body image,
Yeah.
or how to deal with social media toxicity, or how to deal with, you know, death and loss and all these different things. And actually the topic that I had just covered was change and balance, which is ironic because that's what life is all about. And so my
Yeah.
platform, to put it simply, the title is The Mental Journey, because life is a journey. We know this.
Yes.
And it's a mainstream approach to mental health that touches on all the topics that we don't have formal guidance on. So whether somebody is diagnosed or not, pretty much everyone goes through the battles that I would be talking about on my page. And again,
Right.
I'm not licensed, I'm not a therapist, so it really is based off of a lot of raw life experience, but I feel like that's what makes it beautiful.
Yeah.
And my edge is spirituality, because throughout all of my life and all of the things that I had been through, I had no guide. You know, I had, you know, good people around me that loved me and showed me unconditional love. So it's not like I had absolutely no one, but
Yeah.
I really didn't have a me. I didn't have anybody who, just to give a quick example, when I was growing up and I was going through puberty and I was comparing myself to other girls, and I wasn't understanding how I view myself, I didn't have
Mm.
somebody there to guide me through that. Um, as I got older and I needed to start figuring out, okay, what's my career? You know, what life am I going to build? I didn't have anybody to touch on like my inner voice and my intuition and how to build a life that I want. There were just so many spaces that were untouched. And
Right.
I feel like that's a gap in the mental health world, and that is why I started my platform.
To have those conversations and be able to, bring people in to touch on those aspects of our lives, because like you said, and that's one thing that I really liked as I was watching some of your past lives
Mhm.
that you did. Um like even trying to find like your passion. I think there was one about passion or purpose. I think it's
Yes.
purpose.
Yep.
And that one was like touched me so much because I'm like, this is what I'm dealing with right now, you know? And I'm just like, what is my passion? What is my purpose? What am I here for? And trying to kind of, make sense of it all or see the signs. And so when you had that, when you posted that, I was like, oh my gosh, definitely resonated with me
Mhm.
so deeply. And I don't see it in the way that you are presenting it. At least I haven't yet. I don't know. Maybe there are other groups, I'm sure, that people can join and whatnot, but I hadn't seen a group come across my any of my feeds or even through friends similar to yours. And I really like it because it creates almost like a safe space for obviously you're giving us your feedback and whatnot, and whatever the topic of the week is. But then also people can interact themselves amongst themselves and kind of have those chats and converse and continue the conversation as well. So it's dope. I really, really enjoy it. And I'm excited that you even did that, because I feel it's much needed. Like you were saying about the stigma, there is a huge stigma around mental health, and it's not something that people um are comfortable talking about, are comfortable even seeking out help for. So you'll be dealing with, and it, just like you just described, it doesn't have to be necessarily always something so traumatic. It can be just the day-to-day life, and it accumulates like over time, right? You might be dealing with, like, everyone deals with a relationship, but maybe it's multiple relationships that you've been in that have caused you to have like this unhealthy outlook, maybe about yourself or about the relationship, or work related or family related, so many different aspects of it. So I think that the fact that you're making it like a lifelong almost journey, right?
Yep.
The journey aspect of it is important, because we tend to think of trauma like one particular event or one particular thing, which, yes, that is always traumatic, and we have those experiences too. But it's very much also just a flow of things that lead you to a space where may not be so healthy.
Yeah, absolutely. And that every single thing you said is absolutely true and definitely part of the driving force behind the platform, because it's like you said, everybody is going to have those traumatic events that shape
Yeah.
them more than others. But like I said, there's just so many untouched spaces in life that all of us, and this is where I feel like we're on the same level as far as mental health. Because obviously we've got the people with diagnoses, but all of us need to address and nurture and deal with our mental health every single day with the things that we go through. And there's just so many untouched spaces where people are not receiving that guidance. And
Yeah.
actually, the way that and that's why I structured the platform the way that I did. So it's a private Facebook group at the moment. And of course, you've got to join and you've got to be approved, to
Yeah.
enter. But I know that there is a stigma around mental health and it's really hard to talk about. So when you mentioned seeing other mental health platforms come across your feed, I have too. And I was observing them for a while before I made the mental journey. And I paid attention to what other people were doing to kind of see, okay, what are people responding to? What are they not responding to? So
Yeah.
when I knew I wanted to make a mental health platform, I said, okay, I can't
Has to
make
be
a
different.
structure that is dependent on the audience's participation, because I know that this is a really big obstacle and I know that I'm probably going to get a lot of resistance or not a lot of engagement. So that's why
Mhm.
I take the lead. That's actually the little slogan for the page is we take the lead so you can breathe. Um,
Yeah. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
all of the topics that I cover are led by me. So I will spend 2 weeks per topic because I don't want to drag it out too long. And
Yeah.
feel like 2 weeks is enough time day by day to kind of get through the things I want to say and the points I want to make. So, the structure of the page, if you join, all you have to do is observe. I mean, if you want to participate and you want
Yeah.
to, can, but if you just join my group and observe, what you're going to see is a daily affirmation, because I love affirmations and I slowly want to rewire people's brains to be more positive. So,
Yes.
it's not even just about the topic, but I have all these other little pieces to the platform going on that really nurture your mental health. So I start off with a daily affirmation Monday through Friday. And then throughout the day, like let's say when I did change and balance, the first week of the topic will be the visuals. So I'll go over defining the topic. I'll go over, the biggest struggles. I'll go over the best remedies. I'll go over stories, and I just pick all these different parts and I kind of release it slowly day by day.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
then usually I will get member questions and I will get people privately DMing me, and I always respect their privacy. And this
Yeah.
week, it's usually filled with videos of me giving video responses. So if somebody wants to know something specific or gain some clarity on something that I released in a visual, I'll make a video about it and I will just talk about it for however long until I get my point across and I really give my deep guidance, because the visuals are very quick,
Yeah.
easy references, but I love the video content I make because that's when I really dive deep and I really explain either like my experience to share a relatable story or just the trends that I see on social media, just anything deep I can kind of bring to the audience to wrap
Right.
things up. And then in between having the topics and trying to help people with all these life topics, I do bring people on to do live sessions, people who would be like yourself, you know, who can really enhance the page and either have the same or a similar mission. So that
Right.
way it's just not me talking. It's like, okay, well, now
It's
I've
a
got
dialogue.
exactly.
Yeah.
I want to show people that, okay, I'm leading this platform and I'm one person, but there's other great individuals out
People that,
who
mm-hmm.
are on great missions. So
Right.
there's a lot that goes on. And then the way the Facebook group is structured, which is what I love and why I'm so happy it's a Facebook group, is I can actually tag all of the content. And that way, even if the topic is over and the 2 weeks go by, you can actually revisit all of my content. And so
Yeah.
it's
Which
very
is awesome for referencing. Yeah.
Yep, it's very organized. It's very easy to navigate, and I'm always on. There's never a moment where I miss a notification or I'm not there. And it's honestly worked great so far. I've had it since June of this year, 2020. So now it's been
Yeah.
what, we're in November, so like 8 months, 9 months almost. So it's been a journey for me even too, because when I started out, I wasn't perfect at this. I was like,
Yeah.
okay, what am I going to talk about? How am I going to deliver it? And it's funny because like I'll watch my videos when I first started and I was like on the floor in my apartment, and then one day I'd be on my porch, and then I'd be on my bed, and it was kind of messy, but I feel like that just brings like a human, I don't know, like a human element to it. So
100%. You're being genuine. You're being, relatable in those moments. You know what I mean? So I think that that's the fact that we are able to see you in different settings, or I mean, being in one particular place consistently is fine too, but it doesn't take anything away from the content, being in different settings. I think it adds to the human side to say, hey, like, yeah, I'll be in my bed talking about this because, this is when I'm thinking about it and I'm comfortable. And so here you are, type thing. So
mhm.
I find that to be fascinating. That's awesome. What for you do you consider to be being in a good mental headspace? Like, what does that feel like or look like for you?
So if I guess I'll start out with the definition because I love definitions. I always try to define things on my page to put things into perspective. So
Okay.
to me, mental health, my personal definition that's been developed over my lifetime and my battles, is
Yeah.
it's just the quality of your internal peace. That's really
Yes.
what it is. It's, the quality of your thoughts, the quality of your inner voice, the quality of your goals, the quality of your intentions. It's really just your internal quality. And so,
Right.
to me, a person that has good mental health, and I want to be clear that it's never going to be perfect, because even me as a mental health advocate, I am a human. I
100%. Yeah.
struggle and I go through things, but the point is to get to a place where you have quality internal peace, meaning a person who, even though they might struggle and they're going to go through these daily life things like everyone, because it's a journey, it's never ending,
It is.
they,
Yeah.
they're not held back. So even though maybe they've got anxiety, they still get up and they go to work, they show up, they don't really
Right.
the negativity stop them from doing what they want to do, even if it's difficult
Right.
to get through and there's battles. It's really just having that internal, quality of peace and being able to move forward with your life and accomplish the things that you want to accomplish. So I would just say a person who's not held back, and a person who's not afraid to be themselves either, because that's a big part of our mental health. And I had a super interesting conversation with a friend the other day who I had featured on the mental journey, and he's a huge supporter of mine. And he
Mhm.
no, Kat, I'm really happy that you decided to take the reins on this, because I almost feel like with social media, people have an identity crisis. And it's not even
Yes.
about accomplishing goals and the hustle culture that we see online, like go, 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 do, accomplish, accomplish, accomplish. It's also about understanding who you are. And
Right.
that can get skewed and altered and lost in the world of social media. So that's kind of another confidence that I want to bring to people is like, okay, there's all these different life battles and all these things are going to come at me. But if I can get people to understand, okay, how do I develop my inner voice? That's one step. If I can
Yeah.
to understand what purpose is and how it relates to them, that's another step. So it's all these different layers that are going to build on each other. And in the end, you're not only going to be able to live the best quality life and be the best you, but you're really going to know who you are, and you're going to have that grounding and that rooting. And to me, that's absolutely everything. It really.
Yeah. I think that yes, I 100% agree with what you said. It is about your feeling of feeling good. You feeling like, okay, I feel good. Whatever that might look like, that I think is being in a good mental headspace, not feeling necessarily anxious or troubled too much about, I mean, because life will happen, right? But
Mhm.
on a continuous basis, you're feeling ultimately overall good, right? But I
Exactly.
think to get there, people need to sit with themselves and process things and really we need to listen to ourselves. And I think because of social media, because of all these different distractions, because of our phones and laptops and everything else that we have going on in life and family and work, it's just so hard to kind of be still and listen, right?
Mhm.
To kind of figure out, okay, what is going on with me and what do I think? And that's where, you might seek out help, a therapist, a counselor, a psychiatrist, psychologist, certified somebody to help you with that, maybe even a friend or that you can kind of go to and discuss things with. But I think it's so difficult nowadays to just sit and be still and kind of internally self-analyze and process things that keeps us from figuring out or putting the pieces to the puzzle almost,
Yep.
um at least that was my struggle. But once I was able to just kind of like take a moment and just think, okay, Stefany, what do you want? Little by little. I still struggle with that, but like, my purpose, like I said, and what am I here for? uh
Like all of
but
figure out.
yeah, but it definitely helped to kind of clarify things and just, you start asking questions, and when you start asking questions, you start seeking answers, and that's part of the processing and taking the time to kind of getting to know yourself.
Mhm.
And I think that that's so important of getting to know yourself, because once you do know yourself, you are able to manage the relationships that you have around you and the things that are going on, like how you said, for example, perfect example, how you started off when you said that, what, this is all I know. Connecticut is all excuse me, Connecticut,
Mass.
Boston, Massachusetts, yeah, is all I know. Um, I need to get away. I need to start over. I need to maybe just look at something different, right? Because you were noticing, okay, well, I'm here. This is all I've seen. This is all I know. All these things are happening here, and maybe let me try something else. You
Mhm.
never would have gotten to that point, I don't think, unless you stopped and you took a moment to self-reflect.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Absolutely. That is 100% true. And then just to build on the therapist comment that you just said, that's actually another driving force behind my platform, because I've actually never been to therapy, surprisingly, with all of the traumatic things I've been through. And I really had to be self reliant. And even though it was a little more difficult and it took me a little bit more time to figure things out than if I were to maybe have gone to a therapist, I still was able to do it. And I talk to a ton of people. A lot of people privately open up about their mental health to me. And I know one of the biggest things, and it's funny because I've actually seen a trend on Facebook and Instagram with ads for like affordable therapy.
Yes.
I know that there's even challenges with therapy because some people might not be able to afford it, or some people just
Right.
might not want to go. Maybe they're prideful or they're scared to get diagnosed with something. So that's another driving force behind my platform. Even though I'm not
Yeah.
a therapist and I'm not licensed, well, where is my value? And my value is kind of filling in that gap for the people who either can't afford to go or maybe just don't want to go. I want to show them that, hey, even without a therapist, you're not lost and you're not hopeless. There are things that you can learn
100%.
and
Yeah,
things
it's
you
like a
can do.
gateway. It's like a gateway. You know,
Hmm.
it's like we're starting with the conversation, we're having this talk, and that can lead to, you having a conversation with somebody else who maybe knows someone or can give you a resource, and you can explore, and then it will lead you to, therapy doesn't necessarily have to be in the form of a therapist, an actual therapist. I find therapy when I hang out like with my friends and we just talk and I vent about stuff. You know what I mean? It comes in so many different forms,
Hmm.
and it can be your best friend, it can be your mom, your confidant, it could be, a stranger that you are talking to on the mental journey with, page, and you converse and you guys click. And sometimes that's even better, like someone who has no bias about you, has no preconceived notions of who you are and what you're about. When you can have like a conversation, because it's not it's irrelevant to them in any way, it's non-consequential,
Yep.
and it's freeing because they can just kind of give you what they feel about whatever, and give you some feedback, and it's not anybody that you could like, oh my gosh, I can't believe I'm having this conversation with
Hmm.
this person. It's just, oh, it's a random stranger, it's fine, they don't know anything about you, it's
Yep.
okay. So there's no judgment there. So I love that. I think that that's a very, very huge factor, right? The affordability, like you were saying, and you're right. It doesn't necessarily have to be with a therapist. It can come in different ways, and there are different levels to it, right?
Exactly.
Yeah,
And I've had that happen on my platform, and that's kind of another little piece. There's just like so many pieces to it. I wish I could talk for like weeks and weeks about it.
yeah. Like
Um,
this is deep. It can go deep.
but it's become a community. I think right now I have
A
640.
community, yes.
And that was one of my hopes for the platform as well, that people, in seeing other people open up, it would not only give them courage, but maybe they can connect with someone. Because I haven't been
Yeah,
through everything and I don't know absolutely everything. So maybe my platform can kind of be this little oasis where people can meet each other and connect with each other. And like you said, therapy doesn't need to be I go to an office and sit down with a person. It can be in the form of your friends. That's actually one of the things that keeps me going is I have a very, very strong inner circle, and my friends provide me with a lot of guidance and a lot of love and a
yeah,
lot of therapy in itself. And that's another really important part of my platform because when we lean on each other, we can learn from each other. And there's just that unconditional like sense of safety. Like, okay, here's another human being who gets it. They're
yeah,
not going to judge me. They can understand me. And sometimes, even though people think they're a mess in their head, and this has happened to me a lot of times in life, I've definitely gone crazy and thought like, oh my God, I need to give up. My life is over. I've been in some really knotted mental spaces. And sometimes it's literally about being listened to and understood. And that can go such a long way. And like you said, with a person who is like a neutral space where the noise is removed, the preconceived notions, the stereotypes, or any other
yeah.
narratives about you, that in itself can be really important. So I've actually seen a couple of people connect with each other and then off the page become Facebook friends and tell me
Yeah.
about it. And that's a super beautiful thing in itself too. I mean, we can all help each other, that's for sure.
Right. And like you said, you realize, oh, I'm not so crazy, like, quotation marks. There's somebody out there who has dealt with the same things that I've dealt with. And it's not odd that I think this way. And it's not weird. And oh, I can find my tribe.
Yep.
Like that is huge when you start talking to people and you realize, oh yeah, this is pretty common, or it's pretty natural for me to feel this way or think this way or be acting this way. And, you know, there is a light at the end of whatever tunnel I feel like I'm in right now, you know?
Yep.
So this leads me to this was a great start. This leads me to a good question because, you know, you have the platform and such, but and you mentioned that people DM you privately and they ask questions and kind of interact. What is the biggest like question you get or on one topic do you think
So
is like the biggest question that you get from people or maybe seeking advice and such?
So the biggest question that I get, and it's actually the best question I could possibly get because every single one of us does it, is most people have a lot of trouble with overthinking. And that's really interesting to me because it
Yeah.
goes to show me that number one, we're all not that different. All of us overthink, even the people who look like they have it put together and they
Yeah.
look on top and they're doing well. Even me, that actually overthinking was my biggest struggle. And it's ironic that that's my biggest question. And I find that people have a really hard time quieting their mind and sorting out the good, the bad, the necessary, the unnecessary. So overthinking for sure. And it can be
Mm.
about a lot of different things. You know, obviously, a lot of people overthink about themselves and where they're headed in life. So if I had to refine it to like, okay, well, what do people
I
Yep.
okay.
Well, what do people
Yes.
overthink about? It's about themselves and it's about their confidence, like who they are, where they're going, what they should do next. And I personally think that the biggest contributor to overthinking is social media. Because
Yes. I was just thinking that. I was just gonna say it leads to so much self-doubt because you're seeing these highlight reels. I know we keep saying that, and I'm sure people have heard other people say it, but it's so freaking true, man. It's so freaking true. And it's definitely, it makes you question yourself so much more. And when you are still, when you are quiet, you are able to stand firm in your own thoughts and not have all these distractions. Yes, yes, and yes. Please
Mhm.
continue.
Yep. So overthinking is it. And that's actually why my long-term goal for the platform is to actually be an app. I don't know if anybody's ever heard of, because I do have some inspiration, you know, for this idea. I don't know if anybody's ever heard of the Calm app, but a few years ago,
Yeah,
I accidentally stumbled across, for the people listening who don't know what the Calm app is, it's a guided meditation app.
yeah.
And I accidentally stumbled on it through Facebook. I was like, oh, this is cute. I'm going to download it and, you know, do this here and there. And it actually came at a really ironic time in my life because it came after I had my daughter. So I was kind of going through postpartum depression. I had just moved
Wow.
from Massachusetts, one state over to New Hampshire, because I was, again, rebuilding my life at that time. And I started guided meditation, which was about 10 minutes a day. And the app had like a tracker and it had like music and all these different, you know,
Yes, it's so good.
and oh my God, I love Calm. I really, really love them. And it's funny because I look at my content sometimes and I'm like, you can tell I'm so inspired by them. But it was an accident. And so through meditation, I started learning what you had just said, how to quiet my mind, how to focus, how to really listen to myself. And through that, I was actually able to not be so affected by social media and really kind of put that distance in between me and that online virtual world. And that's why my long term goal for the mental journey is an app, because I have so many ideas for all these different resources. And I want it to be off of social media because at this time, like I said, the mental journey is new. It's less than a year old. It has gained momentum and I do have a good following, but I sometimes feel like I don't get as much engagement or as much impact as I could put out because it's on
Yeah.
Facebook. And so if someone's scrolling through Facebook, they're seeing memes, they're seeing politics, they're
Yeah,
seeing
other things, right. You
exactly.
need a dedicated space, yeah.
Yeah. So I that's my long-term goal for the mental journey, and that's what I want people to learn how to do. I want them to learn how to cultivate those quiet spaces in life. That way they're not like pushed and pulled by social media and trends and politics and everything that's going on in the world. And I say this to people, and a lot of people are like, well, we need social media and it's actually helped us progress and it's a great thing. And I'm not trying to say that social media is bad because it's, I mean, it's amazing and it's
It
helped
is.
can connect and how people can, make an impact. But at the same time, too much of a good thing is never a good thing. Like we see,
Right.
just some of the trends I've noticed on social media is the mudslinging when it comes to politics. It's like now we're divided. It's like, well, if you're a Democrat, you have to hate Republicans and we can't get along. That's just, one example.
Yeah.
Obviously, makeup and filters, and it's really had a detrimental impact on women
Yeah.
and how they view themselves
Yeah.
with likes and follows. There's so many things pushing and pulling and measuring on social media. And I want people to understand that that doesn't define who they are.
Right.
Along with all these other life battles, like when you go through a breakup or a hard relationship or
Right. Right.
so yeah.
Right. So social media is here to stay. It's necessary. It's part of our evolution. It's there's no way around it, right? It's
Yeah.
going to be here. But even though we are consumers, we need to also be aware of what we are consuming and how we consume it and for how long, and so as to not overindulge and or go down a rabbit hole of like just nonsensical crap, and then
Yes.
that's just So I understand. It's almost like a necessary evil when you start like watching the conspiracies, and it's like, oh my God, look at what they're doing with it.
Yeah.
But I also get how much it improves our lives. Let's be serious.
Yeah.
How convenient it is, how informative it is, when you're looking at the right stuff. Um so yeah, I get that. Well, let's go into the one of my segments, okay?
Okay.
And that's the classy, ratchet, or real segment. And this is classy, ratchet, or real. Which one is it? And this is kind of like story time, okay, for you since you're the guest. And this is where we talk about a story related to the subject matter at hand, and then we decide, is it a classy story, is it a ratchet story, or is it a real story? Okay. So I have a story. I'll go first since you're new, and maybe do you have one, or do you want to go first? Do you have a
I do.
story?
I do have one, but you can go first. It's totally fine.
No, since you're the guest, I'll let you go. I was just gonna go in case you wanted to think about a story, but you go ahead. I'll let you go first, please.
Okay, awesome. Thank you. So I'm actually going to give a recent example and a recent story that happened literally just a week ago. And I feel
Okay.
like this is a good one because it aligns with my mission and every single thing we just talked about in this episode. So last week, I had a really tough conversation with a family member. I made a decision that they didn't necessarily agree with. It was actually my mom. And my mom, I love her. Me and her get along and we have a special relationship, but she was actually a long time ago diagnosed with bipolar depression. So she can be very up and down. And on top of that, she's Puerto Rican, so she's spicy.
Spicy. You gotta talk to her nice. Yes.
So she can be a firecracker. And I have a lot of fire in me too. I mean, I'm pretty docile on the mental journey and when I'm speaking in truth, but I've got the fire too. And so
Yeah.
for a really long time, whenever me and my mom would have a disagreement, it would be heated and there would be a lot of heated words, a lot of heated exchange. And because, we're both fiery and we both have really strong personalities. So she started kind of just going off and texting me and kind of telling me off and, insulting me and, just being her normal her. And I actually, what I did when I saw the text messages, I obviously got upset, but I put my phone down and I said, okay, I have a lot of things I want to say to my mom right now, but I'm going to take a minute and I'm going to actually sit back and decide, okay, what's necessary to say to her?
Right.
Is it necessary to insult her back? Is it necessary to add fuel to the fire? And most
Yeah.
importantly, this is a heated exchange. What do I want out of this? And I pretty much just decided, okay, I want to be upfront and honest with her. And I just want to share how I feel. And so when I responded, obviously there were no swears, no insults or anything like that. And I literally just responded and I said, Mom, I love you. But I have to be honest with you. I don't like the way you speak to me sometimes. And I just feel like this is not necessary, and we could have a better conversation about the topic that we're disagreeing on. So if
Right.
you want to have that conversation, text me back. But if you text me back and it's not solution oriented, I'm just not going to respond, and we can talk at another time. And I was really proud of myself for responding like that, because I'm 28. And so it took
Yeah.
me my whole life. And especially, it's funny because your family is your biggest battle. And
Yeah.
I am not going to be fake on here. My family can rile me up just like everyone's can. They know what buttons to push, they know how to
Yeah.
handle. It is what it is. I mean, it's a reality.
Yeah.
But I was proud of myself because that's not how I would have responded maybe even a year ago or 2 years
Yeah.
ago. So I was really proud of myself. So that is my story of the day, to kind of just wrap things up and bring things full circle.
Yeah, that we're gonna say that one is a classy one. Okay, it's real because it's family, and it's definitely pinky up. Yes. Yeah, that was a very classy way for you to handle that. I know we have, when you're dealing with family, it's not someone you can trade off. If it's somebody from the outside that's maybe, a friend, or you can kind of like cast them off. And even with family, you can, I guess, if you feel that strongly, you can at some point let them, just do them and disassociate yourself. But it's hard. It's your mom. And I'm sure you want to have a relationship with her. So trying to manage and control that your interactions are healthy interactions and you're interacting with her in a healthy, productive way.
Mhm.
You having that foresight to be able to say, you know what, let me calm down first. Let me make sure that when I do respond, I respond in a manner that is going to be productive and positive, and not feed in with the negative. I think it's very commendable of you, and I think it's, it shows growth.
Mhm.
And I wish we all could be like that.
I do flip sometimes depending on,
Yeah.
who
Yeah.
pushes my buttons, but in general, I really have gotten better, and that's the whole point. And really, my message to everyone is, it's not about perfection; it's about progress. And
Exactly.
you're gonna fail. That's
Yeah.
just the way it is. But if you're not scared to fail, and you're not scared to have those tough moments and to slip a little, you're gonna learn a lot.
Yeah.
So that's really my whole point in telling that story, because like I said, family's your biggest battle, and
Yeah.
they're always going to be your biggest battle. And it's funny, not to get too off topic, but this reminds me of a book I read one time, and I was discussing the book with someone. It was The Journey of Awakening by Ram Dass.
Mm.
And I was discussing the book with a meditation teacher, and she had heard a quote, that said, "Oh my God, if you think you're awakened, go spend a week with your family, and you'll realize like you are
Bring
never."
you right back to square one. They have that power to bring you right back, 10 steps backwards.
Exactly. You're
Yeah.
never as awakened as you think. And you know what's funny is, I actually had somebody challenge me one time, and they were like, "Well, Kat, if you can't ever reach a certain image or be perfect, then like what's the point? Like I feel like you're being too loose with that, progress, not perfection." And what I said is, you know, failure, life is all about balance. If you can be successful, but you need to have the failures to not only understand yourself, but other people as well. If you got to a point where you plateaued and there was no failures and there was no stumbling, no matter what it is, how would you still be relatable, and how would you still be fresh and continue growing?
Right, you're not growing at that point. Yeah, if everything comes very easily and you've done it, then there there's no such thing. There's always a continuous growth, right?
Yep.
And just like you can grow, you can recede back to old ways too. So it's
Mhm.
an ongoing thing, right?
Yep.
I think that the challenge is interesting how they put it, but I don't feel that it's realistic. And I think anytime that you're moving towards a goal and there's some sort of step that you're taking towards it, as long as you're not where you started, that's progress. As
Exactly.
long as you're constantly trying to not be the old you, and you are adding to your repertoire, or you're modifying your ways to be able to, deal with people better, or have better valuable relationships and interactions, that's always a plus, and that's definitely progression. So for
Yep.
sure. All right, so my story, I was trying to think. I had one in mind, but I was trying to see if I was going to say what I was going to say or switch it up. But since you mentioned yours, I'm going to talk about a loss a little bit, right? So
Mhm.
the month of November is pretty hard for me because I've lost a lot of family members in the month of November. So my dad died, my uncle, my grandfather, and I believe my aunt. And just recently, my husband lost two friends, so back to back. So the month of November is just tough, and with dealing with the emotions that come with remembering and missing a family member or a loved one, for me, I what I try to do personally is I try to think of the good times. That's what helps me. I've I with my dad, I lost him when I was 12.
Mhm.
I had just seen him. He came to the States to visit us, and then he left, and a month later he passed away. And so it's been quite some time, but the feelings still remain. You still miss your I miss my dad.
Mhm.
You may miss your loved one, your friend, whoever. And I think it's important to deal with that pain, because I feel that you never get over it. There's no such thing as
Mhm.
getting over the loss of someone special in your life. You only learn to cope with the idea that they are no longer here. So I made the choice of, you know, thinking about the good times, thinking about, how maybe proud of me they would be, or what would they be saying, like jokingly, their personalities and stuff, my uncle and my aunt. So those are the things that I try to like think about for myself to kind of put me in a good space and just feel a little bit of their love, as
Mhm.
opposed to the sadness of that huge loss.
Yeah.
So I just take some time. I sit, I think, I say a prayer. I talked about this last episode on when I was talking about my self-care.
Mhm.
And it's something that I do is, along with prayer, I meditate, or just sit and be still, and I that helps a lot. And like I said, just remember your loved ones, think about them in a positive way, maybe talk to them if you prefer. So these are the things that I how I deal with the loss in a positive way, and I
Mhm.
think it helps me a lot. But yeah, so that's my little tidbit, my little story.
Well, that is definitely real.
Yeah.
100%. I'm gonna label that real.
Yeah, so we both did real stories this week.
Yep. And you
Yeah.
know what's funny? I actually covered that was my second topic on the page was how to cope with death and loss. And so
Okay.
I don't know if you've gone through my platform and you have gone back and seen that topic, but I said something actually about this that somebody really found helpful because I had a person um on the page who had just lost someone and described all of the same things that you were just saying. You still miss that person. How do you deal with it? Because it is really ongoing. And I have
Yeah.
situations in my life too. And you're completely right. You never get over it. You just learn how to live with it. And I know you said the month of November is, very hard for you because that's kind of when everything happened and it brings up all those memories and it kind of brings that grief to the forefront.
Yeah.
And one thing I said to someone, they had actually lost their dad, just like you. And they said, how do I deal with the fact that he is not an actual person anymore? Like he doesn't exist. He's not in this world. And I said, one of the most beautiful things that I have found, and again, this is real raw life experience bringing content to the mental journey. That person for me is my grandmother. And she did a lot for me and she meant a lot to me. And I feel like when someone dies, it shouldn't be looked at as, oh my God, they're like, not here and they don't exist. I feel like they become a beautiful story. And I think that's one of the most important things to do when somebody you really loved, passes away, is do
Yeah.
all those things to remember them, make them a story, talk about them, post about,
Yeah.
exchange memories, talk to people who were also close to them. Like if
Yeah.
you make them a beautiful story, it kind of transitions that energy from grief to like pride and, happiness. So it's just ironic that popped into my head when you mentioned that.
And they live more in our hearts, right? They're like they're forever there. That experience that you had with them, of them being in your life, that's not something that goes away. So
Mhm.
they are very much alive in here. It's just
Mhm.
a different type of a life. Depending on your beliefs, you might even
Mhm.
consider to say, hey, this is just, they went to the next phase of their existence,
Mhm.
wherever that might be. So different ways to look at it, and I 100% agree. I was
Mhm.
going to ask what resources you utilize for keeping up with your mental health, and you mentioned the Calm app, which is
Mhm.
which is dope. Are there any other resources that you use,
So that would probably
or
be,
tools?
yeah, that would probably be the only like online like resource that I use, is just
Okay.
having that app. And here and there, because I don't meditate consistently just because I'm into so many things nowadays, but
Yeah.
it does help me slow down if I just want a few moments alone. And there's other things on the app like soundscapes. You can listen to nice sounds and you can put
Yes.
yourself into that quiet space with no noise. But outside of the Calm app, to be honest with you, my number one resource in my life right now is my inner circle. My life is still turbulent. My life is still changing in a lot of ways. My life
Yeah.
is not traditional at all. There's a lot of untraditional things going on in my life. And seriously, my friends, because at the end of the day, if I feel loved, then I can get through anything. If
Yeah.
I know that the people around me love me and they support me, then it gives me that inner strength. And I
Yeah.
have a very strong inner circle. Everybody in my inner circle it's a combination of friends and family, and even some people who were acquaintances, but kind of, have started coming closer because they've shown me that they're like minded and they're worthy of being close to me. And they have great energy. They're just so supportive. I have
That's
people
awesome.
at any moment. I can text them, I can call them, I can vent to them. Oh, and another thing, so it's the Calm app, it's a strong inner circle. And honestly, something that people don't think about is recording yourself and listening to yourself. Because
Really?
I actually, again, this is something I started doing totally by accident. So the iPhone started that like voice note thing where you could send people voice notes back and forth.
Yeah.
And I started that like a few years ago with one of my best friends. And then sometimes like I would be like insecure, and I'd be like, oh my God, did I say that right? Did I not say that right? And I would replay my recording.
Okay.
And I started actually doing that consistently. And then I started noticing, like, wait a minute, this is another tool I can use to learn about myself. Because if you listen to your voice, like obviously you have a voice going in your head at all times, but it's surrounded by a million other things you have to do. But if you legitimately record yourself and listen, you can pick up on tones, you can pick
Yeah.
sensitivity, and it's kind of hard to describe, but it's something I accidentally started doing, and I really started being able to articulate myself better and understand like what my triggers are and where I'm sensitive, where I'm strong. And that's actually another tool too. So those are my top 3.
That's
Comp,
awesome.
inner
I
circle.
never thought about recording. Yeah. I mean, I listen to myself obviously because I have the podcast, and it does help me. It's helped me with conveying myself and being able to, just like get through conversations better in a way, but never did I think to implement that towards therapy or in a
Mhm.
therapeutic way. That's quite interesting. Well,
Mhm.
I'm glad you said that. Thank you for those suggestions. Um, and I'm glad you mentioned Calm. That was actually one of the things I was going to add. But besides Calm, now they have better health, and you can go online and they match you with a counselor near you, or you you find someone who you feel is comfortable, and you can do it virtually. You can have those conversations with a trained professional therapist, and you can switch them out if you don't feel comfortable, and it's very convenient, and it's from the convenience of your home. So it's COVID friendly. So there's that. Also, most jobs, if you do have coverage, they do offer um mental assistance, or I don't want to call it mental assistance. It's kind of like they give you the ability to speak to a therapist, and I think like a few sessions for free,
Yeah.
depending on your company. Through your insurance, you should be able to, I think, get like 3 sessions free, and then after that, you would have to pay, right? um
Mhm.
and I know with my previous employer, that's how they would do it. Like you could, there was a hotline you could call and kind of talk to somebody, just like on a basic level. But then if you wanted to get actual therapist assistance, you can find someone, and you have like the first 3 sessions is like covered, and then after that you start paying. So just look at your healthcare coverage, your insurance, if you have insurance. Check that out and explore through your employer as well what resources they have, because sometimes they do offer just counseling for free,
Mhm.
um, especially when it's grief counseling. Also, just Google in your area, for your state, for your town, your city. Sometimes like the government does offer assistance for people, and you would be able to kind of get some help and somebody to talk to you, and then they'll make connect you with the right people to assist you through whatever hardship you may be going through.
Mhm.
So those are good ways. And on a non-traditional, if you're trying to go non-traditional way, and you want to just like like you said, like Kat said, friends, family, your confidant, somebody that you feel like you have that one person to kind of go to and have a conversation with, that is so key, and it's invaluable to me. Because the same thing, I have like a really really good inner circle, and I'm very close to my mom. She's awesome. My brother's like a very good sounding board to bounce off things off of. And yeah, he's pretty awesome. So definitely your inner circle, seek them out, talk to them. Don't be afraid to just talk to somebody, and find the groups kind of like the mental journey. Check Kat out, guys. Go and check her out. The
Yeah,
page is
literally just
phenomenal.
hop on Facebook, and in your search bar, the mental journey. It's a private group. It has like a blue background, and it literally just says the mental journey. It's got a little light bulb and a little plug. I
It's
tried
cute.
the logo
Did you
cute.
design that yourself?
No, I kind of did. I went on Fiverr, that like
Okay.
finance app, so somebody had to put it together, but
Yeah.
the font and the colors and the idea was mine. I just wasn't tech savvy enough to put it
Yeah,
together.
yeah, to put it
Uh,
together. Yeah.
so yeah, it is my design, but someone just put it
I
together.
love it. I love it, I love it, I love it. I'm gonna post the mental journey on my IG page. You guys can go and follow. And so we're coming towards the end of the show, and so there's one more segment that I wanted to get off before we move on, and also talk about a few things that are coming up that are new. So I know we normally do the Grown-Upish Nugget of Gold. So I'm going to retire that segment, guys. We're retiring that segment, which actually I might still give you guys some nuggets, some Grown-Upish Nuggets of Gold here and there. But I'm starting a new segment, which is going to be Grown-Upish or Childish. Okay. And we kind of, after the whole conversation, after we discuss the topic, we're going to be kind of highlighting, what was grown up-ish about, what was grown up. Oh my goodness. What was grown up about the topic, and what was childish about the topic. Okay. Which for this particular conversation, I wouldn't say any of it was childish. We didn't have any childish moments. No.
Yeah,
Right.
No.
No, we're pretty grown up the whole entire time. You know, this is definitely a more serious kind of on a serious note topic, and for the most part. And so it's all very mature and grown up over here today, guys.
Yeah.
No childish moments, but there will be some on the going forward. Okay, we'll discuss those. And just to highlight is just don't be afraid to have conversations with people. Utilize your resources around you in the sense of friends, or be it groups that you can tap into. If you are able to kind of seek professional help and just talk to somebody, it doesn't even have to be on a serious note. It could be just you need to vent about things. Maybe nothing traumatic happened, but you're stressed out and you just need to be able to vent about stuff, and they can walk you through it. Just having conversations, I think it's just a great start.
Yeah.
So continue to be great, continue to just think positively and have that positive self-talk internally, and that will tremendously change your actions, guys. Thinking positively will help you feel better about yourself, and in turn you will act more productively and just have a better outlook in life. So that's my little advice for you all. Also, I want to talk about the month of December because we're coming up on getting close to the end of November. And for the month of December, guys, for those of you listening, I'm going to be doing a giveaway, okay, for the GrownupIsh Podcast merch. Okay, so I got some things done. Kat, are you ready to see? I got some like little merch done for the first time.
Yes. Oh
And
my
I did another, yeah, I did another giveaway. I just didn't post about it, and maybe I'll post. And it was for Halloween, and it was a girl won a little package, but I didn't really kind of like promote it too much. It was for an event that I did on my own. I did like a Halloween like get together uh party with Space Six Flicks. Anyways, and we did a giveaway. But now I'm gonna do it specifically for the platform, okay? And this is a little bit of the GrownupIsh Podcast merch. So we have a water canister. You guys see that? Wait, this way.
I love the font on that.
Thanks.
I love it.
So it's a water bottle, okay? And we got a hat, the GrownupIsh Podcast hat.
Oh, black and red. That's an awesome color scheme.
Yeah, it's actually kind of like orange, but it does look a bit red, right?
Yeah,
But and I can't put it on because I have a bun for those of you who are watching on YouTube. And we have a mask because we want to be super safe. So the giveaway is going to be all of this, okay? And I might add a few more things if you guys are nice. So in order to win the giveaway, I'm going to be through each of the episodes, because we do 4 episodes a month, right? So through each of the episodes for the month of December, I'm going to drop a word, a specific word, and I'll say, hey, this is the giveaway, word. And you have to DM me with that word. So you have to be listening. At some point, I'm going to mention the secret word, and you're going to DM me with that particular word for the specific episode, right? And then whoever DMs me all 4 words at the end will win the giveaway. Okay, so you got to listen in order to hear what the special secret word is. And then at the end, you get a lovely giveaway. We're going to do that. And I'm going to then search from the people. I'm going to do like a drawing from the people that DM me. We're going to do the DM me all 4 words. We're going to do a drawing, and then, you can win the merch. So FYI, guys, keep your ears peaked, and you guys need to listen and make sure that you write down the secret words all through the month of December. And I'm going to put it out there on Instagram too. I'm going to do a whole like notification thing. So you guys don't forget. I'm going to be reminding y'all. So yeah. All right. So, Kat, before we leave, again, can you just like drop all your handles and where everyone can find you if they're interested in joining the private group on Facebook, which is great because I love that it's private because it helps with anonymity. And if, people maybe don't feel comfortable, because even though mental health now is becoming more discussed and a lot more people are talking about it, there's still a huge stigma, like you were saying in the beginning,
Mhm.
about having conversations about mental health. And especially in the Black community, it's kind of like, oh, I don't want people picking in my head, and it's just, like just ridiculous stigmas.
Mhm.
And be that as it may, it's still available for people to at least link into groups like yours and start having these conversations. Hopefully, if you're dealing with something more heavy, more traumatic, and obviously you can do so in a more private setting. They can DM you directly, and hopefully you have those conversations and lead them to resources, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So on Facebook, if you literally just search the mental journey, it'll come up with the private Facebook group. Again, it literally is a little icon that says the mental journey. It's blue. It's got a little light bulb and a plug. I do have an Instagram page at the underscore mental underscore journey, but it's hard to keep up with two different platforms. So the
Yeah.
Facebook group is really where it's at. That's where all the visuals are, all my attention is. So really it's more focused on Facebook. So that's where they can find the mental journey on Facebook.
Excellent. And if they go on Instagram, is there a link to lead you to do you have a link on there to lead you to Facebook?
I did. I'll check when I get off because I was revamping the page, so I might have
Okay.
taken it. I will add that. So by
Okay,
the
but they have both. Yeah, they have both. That's
Mhm.
awesome. So
Yeah.
guys, please go check out the mental journey and, contact Kat. She's awesome. Believe me, the content that she has on her Facebook is like awesome and amazing. And I really love, love, love just what you put out. It's very well done and very organized, and it's just great. Great, great, great.
Thank
Um
you.
Absolutely. And you guys already know, on Instagram, the GrownupIsh Podcast, on Twitter, the GrownupIsh, and then the website is the GrownupIsh Pod. Please follow, subscribe, like, share, comment, share with your mom, your brother, your sister, everybody. You guys
Yeah,
already know the spiel.
just-
Okay. Everyone under the sun. Yes. Everyone under the sun. And yeah, that does it for this episode, guys. Again, Kat, thank you so much for coming on. I really appreciate you joining me today. This was amazing. If I mean, oh my gosh, we're like over an hour and 12 minutes. Oh my goodness. Time
we could
flew,
go
and I
on
didn't.
there.
Yes, yes, you can
Yep.
go on and on and on. And I really thank you for coming on and having this conversation. I enjoyed it immensely, and I think it's something that we definitely needed to have. And I hope I know the listeners got some good value out of it. I know I did, at least, but I hope you guys take it upon yourself to, just explore your individual headspace. And especially with the holidays, everything going on, you know what I mean, don't get stressed out, guys. We're gonna get through it. Okay, may not be able to link up with family and stuff, but do like, FaceTime, do calls, do Zooms, do Zoom parties. It's gonna be okay. We're all gonna get through this. Okay, guys. And I can't wait to do this next week, and I will see you guys next time. Have a good one. Bye. Bye. All right.